Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The campaign is Horror on the Orient Express. It's available from Chaosium. I'm the Keeper of the Secrets, and this is episode 18. Our recap will be given by David Gasaway as his character, Dr. Roman Kurtz. But before we begin, I would like to mention that one of our patrons, Robert Pippin, otherwise known as Grobzilla, has increased his contribution from $3 to $10 a month. He writes, "You've brought hours and hours of pleasure and enjoyment to us, Tom and the rest of the ITD crew. Thank you so much." Well, thank you so much, Robert. We couldn't do it without you. So without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. David?
Thank you, Tom. Dear Diary, it is the morning of January 15th, 1923. We have regained passage on the Orient Express. Next scheduled stop, Milan. Perhaps a taste of high culture will be of benefit after some of the nightmares we have been party to. I am deeply saddened by the multiple murders of Edgar and William Wellington. They were both sorely wounded men, but they deserved better than to die as they did. And poor Edgar had high hopes for relieving both ourselves and the Duke, Jean Florissart des Essentes, of a goodly sum for a real scroll and a false one. Instead, William was bludgeoned and left cruelly to succumb on the kitchen floor, while Edgar was given a fatal overdose of his morphine, I think by the Duke, but I am not wholly certain. Edgar kept a journal, and Herr Bloch learned from it that he kept the scroll and its English translation in the special Dreamlands version of Lausanne that the Duke had introduced him to via a potent elixir. We too used the elixir to follow him there. It was not very like the Dreamlands Express we had ridden. Outside of the hotel, instead of mountains and a lake, there was a desert void and a portal there to a fantasy version of old Lausanne. Time there was spent, and space, with blasts of frigid air blowing through strange gaps. The locals were marching towards a cathedral whose bells were tolling. There was a costume procession of flagellants, weeping blood and singing a funeral mass, some of whom took flight. Our group separated. On the way to the Wellington's shop, York, Thursby, and Dabrowski witnessed strange growing plant bulbs and a living chess game between murderous red and black pieces. Bloch and Neruda and I were accosted by a trio of cannibal witches and a magician who disappeared into his hat. There was a wire statue draped with shreds of flesh, singing the saddest song in any world. The taxidermy shop in this room was grotesque, but it did contain a shortcut back to the waking world. Three of us toiled in the unspeakable rot of the place. Likewise, before the cathedral, there was a scene of violent terror, with victims strung up on gibbets, overseen by the Duke in his guise as the Jigsaw Prince, his body made up of bits of others stitched together. He was hosting a kangaroo court, demanding that Dream Edgar, who would not believe his waking self was dead, give up the scroll. Neruda and I struggled to defend him from the fantastical judge, this being the statue of Otto the grandson, draped with the freshly torn-off human skin of a reveler. Miraculously, this effigy declared us in the right, and we fled the crowd and the befuddled Jigsaw Prince, retrieved the Sedefkar scroll from its hiding place, and raced back to the Dream Hotel and our sleeping bodies. Except, of course, for poor damned Edgar. As we others awoke, he faded out of existence, still in terrified disbelief. The party was deeply weary, and trying to find some comfort in the train's dining car, when the foul Duke Florissant des Essentes appeared, arrogant and commanding. He is a powerful sorcerer in the waking world as well as in dream, and so I was compelled to appease his demand for the scroll. I replaced the hideous original and its translation with the fake that Wellington was preparing, tendered it to him, and he, quite literally, vanished. He complained of being almost out of range. I hope that we shall stay forever so. I realize that anyone reading this journal, as we have read so many, would think me entirely mad. So be it. To Milan.
Excellent. So literally the Duke has just vanished moments ago. And the only one who did seem to notice is one of the stewards, who didn't really react oddly. It just wondered where the chair had gone and if it would be ultimately returned. You kind of realize in that moment that everybody was kind of mesmerized a little bit. They weren't rational. But now everybody's returned to normal. Nobody's paid any attention to the disappearing Duke, except you.
Herr Bloch, your throat?
Oh, it hurts very bad. Let me get some water.
His manner of disappearance.
He mentioned he was getting too far away from something. I wonder if that pulled him back.
No, it's not the range. It's the item that he used.
As it was braided, it was reddish fiber, yeah? Did it remind you of some?
Those poor individuals who went after the Blood Red Fez cult in 1890, in the 1890s, described coming across somebody named the Frenchman who used a similar magical device to make things appear and disappear.
Oh, yes, now I recall.
The painter, the Russian painter, and some went to visit him, as the journal recounts.
So you think he's like to be an ancestor of this Frenchman, or
I think it is the Frenchman.
Perhaps he has lived so long that he has learned these larger effects and powers.
Oh, well, he also would have had to find some way to extend his life. He didn't look like he could have been that old. I mean,
Well, Gunter, based on what we've seen, I mean, that place we visited, another reality that man has created. What he did to you just now, his disappearing actor, would not be surprised if he knows some magical means of extending his life.
You didn't see him in the Dreamlands, I think, but his body is made up of parts of many others. So perhaps he has found a way to, in the Dreamlands, steal life essence and impart it to his waking world. I don't know why else he would choose to have that grotesque appearance in the dream capital.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a connection in the Dreamlands. He was pieced together, and yet the Sadafka simulacron is similar pieces of a body. I wonder if that's connected somehow to
in the you weren't at the trial for Theodore, but where we saved Edgar, at least temporarily, at least saving him from torture. We couldn't have saved his life; he was already dead. But they skinned a man and put his skin on a statue.
Dear God!
And the simulacrum being associated with the skinless one, or at least the cult of this skinless one, are after the simulacrum like we are. There may be a connection, or at least the Duke may have had some,
maybe he's
shared magical experience or learning with these same individuals.
He's convinced them that he's their god. I mean, if he's like Theodore was saying, he's broken apart like the simulacrum is. He skins people. I mean, I could see convincing people that, hey, you should worship me.
I mean, those dream people he's created are pretty damn fanatical.
He may have some kind of severe, as yet we're unaware of, undiagnosed medical condition that he thinks that his only solution is to do that to himself in the Dreamlands. Maybe there's a way we can exploit that. Maybe he does that to try and survive. And if so, that would be his weakness then as well.
Well, I'm hoping that he's just an eccentric collector and he leaves us alone.
But
an eccentric collector with extreme powers beyond any normal human.
Also, we must if it wasn't obvious by my demeanor, if he is an extreme collector, he will be disappointed. He got the original case for the scroll, but he did not get the scroll.
Oh,
I gave him the counterfeit that Wellington was making when he was killed.
Thank goodness. Should we make a copy of this information, or at least review it as soon as possible? So in case he does get it, we'll at least have the knowledge.
I think we should at least, yes, make a copy of the translation and see about it ourselves, although I'm very weary.
I have a feeling, Theodore, that if the Duke gets possession of the scroll, we won't be breathing anymore. I don't know if he'll be so polite the next time.
If we have a translation, shouldn't we just destroy the scroll?
It is a consideration, but you never know when you need an artifact instead of just the data. The thing appears to be made on human skin, and probably the ink is also derived in unholy ways. It might be an object itself.
Oh, and I think it's worth preserving in its own right.
Yeah.
If someday it ends up at Miskatonic.
Is the scroll one solid piece, or is it in 2, 3, or 4? If it is more than one, maybe we could separate the two and at least increase.
Yeah, it's a scroll that goes up and up.
So just one solid piece.
Yeah.
Have you taken a good look at the scroll?
Not yet. I don't know.
Scarcely.
At the time.
We should.
I think we should, but in our room, of course.
Yes.
Now that we're traveling.
Yeah.
Nothing could go wrong.
So perhaps we get, I need at least a potato or something, and we maybe get a carafe of coffee and a bottle of champagne or something revivifying.
Some good potato pancakes.
In general, on the Orient Express, if you request food in your room, they'll bring it to you.
Yes. I think that's wise.
So yes, we should not wait, perhaps. The stateroom that is most central.
Well, I wouldn't mind having a bit of food here, just as with everything that has happened, having a bit of a reprieve from.
If we had ordered food in our stateroom, the Duke might not have found us. So now that we are here, a little yogurt cup.
You all can perceive that a slight change has come over the atmosphere of the train itself. It's begun to go uphill. You can feel that it's struggling a little bit more, that it's not moving quite as fast, and that it's now on an angle as it's heading up into the Alps towards the Simplon Tunnel. The Simplon Tunnel being about 12.5 miles long, going through the rock of the Alps. It cuts a huge amount off the journey. The old Orient Express had to go up through Germany and around the Alps to come back down. So I assume that if you get something to eat and drink, then you're going to go back to your rooms.
Yes.
And all right. So the scroll, once you are actually looking at the scroll, you're to your horror, you're kind of guessing that it is probably human skin that it's on. You're guessing also that because of the color of the ink, it's probably inked in blood. There are drawings on it. And to answer Theodore's question, although it is one single large long scroll, it's obviously been stitched together of pieces of human skin to make the one long scroll. You also have, of course, regular paper with a typed out translation of the entire thing.
Is there a signature on the translation at all?
Yeah, so somebody in Lausanne.
And What
spoke
languages? Oh, sorry.
It explains to you that it's written in Turkish, but
Mhm.
they used Arabic, Persian lettering,
Okay.
which would have been consistent with the time period.
Yeah. And we have to remember he purchased this thing from Raoul Malone. That's what Wellington said. So we have to keep an eye out for this figure as well. It's a name I do not think we have seen before.
It is a name that you've seen before.
Oh.
It was one of the policemen who raided Genevar's complex.
Oh, and I did not hear you mentioned the scroll is written in Turkish with Persian lettering, but it was translated into what language?
Into English.
Into English. Oh, good.
Yeah,
good.
there's an English translation.
We don't have to.
Yeah,
If somebody,
I'll begin.
I don't have a complete translation, but I can give you what we've got.
Excellent.
Who wants to read?
Yeah, I can read. The scroll was written by Sedefkar the Osmanli sometime in the late 12th century. It concerns an item in his possession, the Sedefkar simulacrum. In this scroll, Sedefkar prophesizes that he is soon to lose the simulacrum, and so praises and glorifies it and makes a record of it in a set of 5 scrolls. This particular scroll is the first of the 5 and is referred to as the Scroll of the Head, being the thoughts and history of Sedefkar. The 4 missing scrolls are the Scroll of the Belly, concerned with the worship of a being known as the Skinless One, the Scroll of the Legs, a series of body-affecting magics, the foundation on which Sedefkar's power was built, the Scroll of the Right Hand, a ritual which awoke the statue and is the driving force of Sedefkar's power, and the Scroll of the Left Hand, containing a ritual which balances this power, a necessary ongoing sacrifice. The Head Scroll is a rambling, insane document. The author has not set down events in any form or order, making it difficult to follow. The most detailed description in the document dwells on the torture and skinning of human beings. Translation of an excerpt from the Sedefkar Scroll, number 1. I have seen the powers which stalk the night and strike fear into the hearts of all those who worship the false gods. The true God, him I know and I worship. Our true selves are hidden behind a fleshy mask. It pretends to be something that is not. Thus the Skinless One has spoken to me. He whispers secret words into my heart of hearts, and I know what I now must do. The flesh fail, it conceals, it is a lie that must be removed. I have seen my naked self in visions, and it is all that my Lord said it was. In my dreams, I have seen its perfect representation striding above the ruins of cities. Kings and countries have fallen before it. Even gods must fall before it. It is not just a symbol, but a new reality. Fleshless and ageless, he showed me where to find its archetype. I recognized it the first time I beheld it as an object of power, power that would bring the world to its knees. It glistened like the finest pearls. It woke when I flayed alive the wretch who sought to steal my treasure from me. That night, he came to me in the body uncovered by skin for the first time and told me what to do. I meditated before its glory. All praise to the one without skin. I performed the 17 devotions he taught me, and I danced naked before it. Like a night bloom, it opened to receive my essence. Inside it was soft and smooth. I could feel its inner surface, and it felt like the skin of a newborn babe. It was a fulfillment of infinite desires. I offered 4 children as sacrifice to my master, and their blood blessed it and glorified it. Then I used it for the first time. In his wisdom, the Lord of absent flesh had made it to my height. In all modesty, I believe it was made in my image. Blessed is the chosen of the Skinless One. I have been careful to keep it untarnished. The substance is the flavor of purity and should not be tainted by that which is unclean. I know that it cannot be mine forever. Thus says the prophecy. It has a purpose beyond my knowledge. I shall write it all down as a gift to the one who follows my path. Take 1d4 sanity. Lovely.
All the torture and horror.
Yep. All right.
And that's for all of you, because I'm sure he's reading it to you all.
Stop reading.
There are detailed instructions on
Four.
how to properly.
Ooh, ouch.
I took a nice 4.
Only 2 on my end.
And it
Oh,
takes you
no.
probably about an hour to read through it. It's pretty bad. That's because Dr. Ellison is used to torturing people,
Yeah.
playing them all night.
Madman. Mhm.
So by the time you have finished reading, you can tell still that the train has slowed. It's heading towards the tunnel, and it doesn't speed through the tunnel when it gets there. It's slow and careful, and the incline makes it difficult for the train to pull itself forward. But you know that within the next half an hour, you will be entering the Simplon tunnel, and it will be dark for quite a while. Of course, the train's lit.
Mhm.
It's going to be still a few hours before you get to Milan, and you're all quite tired.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could very
yeah.
much use a nap. And why burn fuel to see the inside of a dark tunnel?
You know, opportunities like this don't come along very often. I wonder what this tunnel and the experience would be like in its Dreamlands counterpart. Anyone care to join me in a romp?
I'm planning to go to sleep by
Well, sure, it'll be sleeping of a sort.
Well, and the healthy Dreamlands, I find, is very revivifying as opposed to that hellish city we visited. Should we attempt to board the other train?
I believe, since we're already in motion, we might, and we've already boarded the Dreamlands train previously, we may awaken aboard the Dreamlands train, is my theory.
Yes, I wonder if ever all those other passengers from those other times are still on that train.
Mm.
And then I think it would be good to see Henri and Mimi again, I suppose.
And this may be an opportunity for us to transport the original scroll to the Dreamlands train and store it safely aboard there.
Yeah, they have a room full of secrets, yeah.
Not a bad idea.
We even had, if I remember right, secret compartments in our own cabins. We might be able to store it away in one of our cabins. We wouldn't have to put it in the baggage car, in one of those baggage cars. I think we might be able to do
It's
that.
true. Our own cabins might be difficult to impregnate because they exist only in our dream, in a sense. And the library that I had was distinct to me.
I am concerned bringing the scroll into the Dreamlands, just because this Duke has already shown great capabilities in molding that place.
Yeah, we do not know the extent of Henri's ability to protect his train. It seems as though he has to make many compromises.
Maybe we should inquire and ask Henri if he thinks there would be, if it would be safe enough to do that, or would we be bringing undue danger to the Dreamlands train?
Yeah, I think that's a more sensitive approach. We can still choose later to destroy the thing. I mean, now we know that we have to find 4 others equally distasteful. And in the end, we don't want them to exist, or as you said before, only exist in the confines of a safe library, etc. But yes, I want to freshen my teeth, and then I'll lie down and see, perchance to dream.
All right. So you all retire to your rooms, some of them shared, some of them with shared bathrooms. Prep yourselves. You all climb into bed. You turn down the lights, and just as you are finally getting preparations to get into bed, there's a kind of an expectant feeling as suddenly the train enters into the Simplon tunnel, and the windows around you go black on the outside. The sound of the train becomes more enclosed and closer to your ears. But the hypnotic sort of sound of the tracks becomes more prominent. And as you lay down, you close your eyes, you still feel a kind of comfort in this train that was built to make people comfortable. You're definitely comfortable. And before you actually even realize that you've fallen asleep, such a thing as possible, you find yourself inside that darkness, inside the tunnel. And you feel weightless, as if you were floating. And you can see nothing. It's just black all the way around you. But as you look sort of downward, you see a circle of light, and it's heading towards you rather quickly, as if you were inside of a vertical shaft and you were about to fall out the hole, the bottom. And that's in fact what does happen, except that when you fall out of the hole, you are in the sky. There are clouds around you, and there is a whole world laid out down below you, and you're free falling. And you're not afraid. The sun is setting, the clouds are pink and orange and beautiful. And down below, far, far down below you, you see this little thing that's moving across the landscape. And as you approach it, you realize that it is Mimi. It is the Dreamland Express. And in the blink of an eye, you are suddenly exactly where you were when you woke up before. You are in the main parlor. You're seated around your table. Dr. Edison is just sitting himself down, having stumbled a moment ago. And you're sitting there in the pavilion. It's very beautiful. There is a large fireplace with fire going. Madame Bonneval is sitting there next to the fire, and Zusha, if you recall, the dancing girl, she's kind of pulled up a chair next to Madame Bonneval, and you hear Madame Bonneval, oddly enough, quite cheery, saying, "Oh, it's so good that you came, my dear. I admire you so much for following your dreams instead of being locked into this patriarchy that the men try to impose upon us." And that's kind of her conversation. She's obviously doesn't care much for the male sex, but she's very sweet towards Zusha. Karkarov and Mackenzie are seated at a chessboard across the room, very intensely playing chess. And you are all now sitting there having snacks and delicacies that have been brought in. What would you like to do?
Well,
Is Mimi in a tunnel?
yeah.
No. No. She's crossing the landscape at what seemed to be like sunset.
I'll
Henri,
order a drink and have those tentacles bring.
Did you say Henri?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second you say that, once he appears, he's like, Henri's here. What can I do for you, monsieur?
It's very nice to see you again. We've been to some other dreamlands that are not as well composed as yours.
Other dreamlands, monsieur?
Apparently, people can make little pockets for themselves and be as tyrants there. I'd like a chocolat. What is everybody else?
Oh, you know, I have a treat, if you will indulge me for a moment. You remember Monsieur Meronimer, and he comes in. As you recall, kind of a tall, purple-skinned fellow with bright lemon yellow eyes.
Mm-hmm.
He says to pay for his passage, he has given us some very rare wine. It is a Chartreuse de Sarrube. It is perhaps the rarest of all vintages. His people being wine merchants from another dreamlands beside this one, another world. Will you share it with us?
Of course.
Hey,
Pleasure.
Yes.
And as you are looking up at Henri and Meronimer, somehow little sherry glasses have appeared on your table. You highly suspect they were placed there a moment ago by tentacles, but they placed them when you weren't looking. Henry uncorks this bottle, very elaborate looking bottle, and he begins to pour just a spoonful in each of your glasses. He says, Monsieur, let us toast to new friendships and good travels.
Here, here.
He raises it up.
Yes.
Now, as you bring, this all happens kind of in slow motion. Time is slowed for a moment. As you bring this towards your nose, what you smell is, it's sweet, it's floral, but for some strange reason, it awakens memories in you, memories of when you were a child and things were not so complicated and every day was an adventure. And as you bring it up to your lips and it touches your lips, it's almost as if you're enraptured in a kind of feeling like the sun is coming up inside of your mind, and you feel refreshed and clean and clear and happier in that moment than you felt in a long time. For a moment, all of your problems seem to fade away, and the experience washes over you as you drink it. And a moment later, as you swallow it, it lingers for a moment, and then it starts to fade away. But you find yourself all looking at one another with big smiles on your face and twinkles in your eye. And he says, "Is it not remarkable, messieurs?"
Yes,
It's remarkable indeed.
I could see why it's worth a ticket on the train. This is unbelievable.
Unfortunately, it is the very last of all. Meronimer speaks up, and his voice is interesting because it's soft and it's warm, but you get the impression that it's not made by vocal cords like our voices are made. He is an alien of some sort. And he says, my people used to travel to these dreamlands, and we, as Henry says, we were merchants. We sold wine, and our ships were big and powerful and carried a lot of cargo. They had huge yellow sails, the lemon sails of Sarrube. And I was a merchant. I lived here and I traded and I did my work. But one day, the sails no longer came to the human dreamlands. And I have sought numerous ways to try to get back to my own dreamlands, but there's nobody who can take me. There's no contact between the worlds. I don't know if something happened or if my people even exist anymore. But I had quite a large store of wine and things, and I have traded it for years now, and I am slowly getting to the bottom of it. And this is, in fact, the last of the Chartreuse de Sarube. So I'm glad that you all enjoyed it.
What will you do now that you're running out of wine?
Well, the first thing is I have to look for my cat. I have a companion, not so much like your cats, an alien, also like myself. But I've seemed to have misplaced him or lost him along the way, and I don't know where he's gone or where I should go. So I shall take some time to try and find him after this.
Does he look like a terrestrial cat very much?
No, he's quite know how to even describe him. Quite colorful.
Did we, Roland, did we not, last time we were here, go to visit a city that had lots of cats? What was the name of it?
Uther.
Have you looked there?
Oh, I've been to Uther many times, yes.
I was just brought me so much joy. I was hoping that I could assist you finding your cat, and that was the only lead I had.
I see you've made friends, and you realize that Prince Nimbus is curled up next to Roland on the chair, purring softly.
Before he bites you.
Glad to see the young prince is doing well.
Yeah, eyes are bright.
Well,
messieurs,
we of course. Oh, sorry.
Were you going to ask me questions? I was not sure you called me.
Yes. We have come into possession of an item that we were wondering if we could store it on this train where it would be safe. Where there are some folks looking for it that are undesirable to have it.
Well, that might depend mostly on your skill as dreamers. Most of the times it's very difficult to transfer things back and forth, and they often transmute when you do it. I'm very well aware of what a gun is, but there are no guns in the Dreamlands. If you try to bring one, it turns into a knife or a cudgel or something like that. It's a strange quality of the Dreamlands,
to say the least.
It's symbolic. It's almost like the symbolic meaning of the object is what carries through, not the object itself.
Correct. So, I mean,
this is an artifact of great power, magic power, supposedly, and it also may be a source of evil. I guess our concern is, would this be something that Mimi would be willing or capable of carrying, and would it draw undue attention to Mimi?
Well, I wouldn't want to bring anything evil into direct contact. There are things that are physically evil, and there are things that just, books that have evil in them. In any case, I don't know the answer to your question. If you need my assistance with something, I can certainly give it, if I can give it.
Are you familiar with, dramatically looking around, see if anybody's listening, the scroll of the head?
It means nothing to me.
Then maybe on our next visit, we shall attempt to bring it.
Well, that name might mean nothing, but have you ever come across the reference to a being known as the Skinless One?
No, in the 30 or so years I've been here, I don't recall anything with that name. Is it a monster, a deity?
It's made out to be some kind of deity.
I don't know. It sounds. There was travelers like you once before I created all of this on the actual Orient Express that seemed to have a lot to do with a demonic sort of cult. It had to do with Bezes, of all things.
We've read stories of possibly the same people riding the train, investigating.
Well, I believe they mentioned you in their journal by name.
Oh. Well, then I must have met them. And at the moment, I can't remember your guys' names. So, but he mentions them. Yeah, he says, marvelous
Moxford.
people. Marvelous people, intelligent.
Montgomery
people.
Turner.
Yes, indeed. Whatever became of them, I don't know.
The journey was arduous and it cost them a great deal, but they helped more people than they lost in the end.
Well, I hope that your journey is much more fruitful and less dangerous.
That's right.
You know, you mentioned, though, this fellow who created his own version of the Dreamlands. That I've explained to you before that the Dreamlands are created by the collective memories of everyone on Earth. For a single person to be able to create something like that, a pocket, he would have to have tremendous power over the vert, over the substance. Such a person would be very dangerous, especially in the Dreamlands.
Yes, that was our impression of him also. That kind of rubbed my throat.
Let's hope he's...
Are you aware of maybe how to protect oneself from somebody within the Dreamlands that might be able to bend and twist the reality here?
There are, I mean, in the scheme of things, we are all fairly small and unimportant, but there are powerful people here in the Dreamlands. The king, for instance, King Kuranes, is the greatest of dreamers. He's built cities. There are others who have done similar things, but not for evil. Though there are some evil things here in the Dreamlands, one needs to just avoid the dark places.
Okay, so no actual protection, just avoid it.
Let's hope that, you know, for all the trouble that I had to go through to build the Dreamland Express, that if somebody tries to violate the Dreamlands, they'll gain the ire of some of the gods who have created along the dreams of men. Nodens, for instance, or Hypnos himself.
This might be why the fellow who styles himself as the Jigsaw Prince in his own realm stays in a place that is locked away from everything else. In fact, we entered it not directly through dreaming, but through a desert land, as though he had made himself a little petri dish that was separated from both the waking land and the rest of Dreamland, so that he could control it himself. But he has what appear to be souls inside it.
Trapped souls. That's very sad. Such a person. What it's an indulgent perversion, if you ask me. It's twisted. A twisted, self-indulgent evil. Yes.
Yeah, arrogant and cruel. I think then, having had the most sublime elixir I shall ever experience in this early of the land, I will retire to my car, my room, and see if I can develop any practice with
With
dreaming.
the vote, yes. One other thing, do you tell him any more about your experience in Lausanne?
Dream Luzanne?
I mean, this is the most. I mean, here we have the most wonderful drink I've ever had, but in that other place, amidst all its horrors, was the most poignantly sad song I have ever heard.
So here is my opinion on that. A man of great power creates a world where his self-indulgent peculiarities and perversions become manifest. What he doesn't count on is that 6 gentlemen who also have some experience in the Dreamlands step into his little world. It could be that you yourselves were affecting things around you in his world. You say they seemed out of place for the town. Time also. Time is extremely difficult to control. Time here seems to flow differently than in the real world, but it flows in a consistent manner. There, it sounds like time is all jumbled around. So you may have been glimpsing things from your past, things from your future, things that were worming themselves into your own consciousness from the outside. I don't know for sure. But
I hope mostly that what we brought was what allowed us to help a doomed man partially escape, because very little else that I saw there is something I would want to embrace in any reality.
Wow. I could learn that magic trick. I could retire.
What would retire?
then you mentioned the poor soul that you tried to rescue, but he faded.
Yeah, it was too late for him. He had no waking body left.
So far as I know, back in the 1890s, there was a great influx of psychic investigation and fortune tellers, but there was a backlash of everybody realizing that it was all just nonsense, and that these were all charlatans and magicians, which there's nothing wrong with magic. It's entertainment.
Yes.
So far as I know, and in all of my travels and in everything that I've ever experienced in my life there and here, there are no such thing as ghosts. So he didn't have a place in the waking world. He faded away. Did he go somewhere? I've also not had any indication of heaven or hell, or God's never come to rescue me. I've never seen an angel fly out of the sky, or I think this is it, if you're lucky.
Yeah, supposedly God was a God of miracles in Revelation. But
Yes,
that's never.
I've seen strange things, but I've never seen a miracle.
Yeah, I feel as though this Duke powered his dream space on the pain of others. There were many victims of torture and many willing self-sacrifices. Even a group we saw, people in some costume pageant who were self-flagellating and weeping blood. And they seem to be not unhappy about this.
It would be worth asking if one runs across a more experienced dreamer about such things. This world is composed of the psychic vibrations of sleepers. Yeah. But there are other psychic vibrations. You say he liked to torture people, and and create misery. Such sounds like the souls of suicides. People trapped in anguish and despair.
That's very that's very Dante. Very much like Dante's Inferno.
When he says that, those of you who have a fairly high intelligence recall that there were an awful lot of suicides that had been taking place in Lausanne.
Yep.
Right.
Anyways, messieurs, I have other guests to attend to. Please make yourself at home. Enjoy. It's going to probably be about 4 or 5 hours before we arrive in our next location, which is Tsar. I would not recommend getting off the train in Tsar. Tsar is the land wherein all of the ideas, thoughts, poems that were never completed have formed. The city looks beautiful from the train, but they say that anyone who goes into Tsar will never return home.
Oh.
They'll pursue long forgotten thoughts and get lost in them. And those thoughts can be as nightmarish and horrible as anything. The only reason why we're stopping there is I do have to drop off shipments and pick stuff up. And I'm always hopeful that there will be some lost souls that we can recover. After that, we'll be heading towards Afarat, which is another few hours along the way.
Well, we can practice our vert until we awaken in the real world then.
Neruda, I know you will be tempted to get off at Tsar. Do you want us to tie you to the mast or something? Stuff wax in your ears?
No, I'll be okay.
Very well.
You can consider getting off at the platform, but don't leave the platform, I would suggest. Could be very dangerous.
You're very good as always, Henri.
And then he moves away, and you notice by now that Karkarov, you were busy with Henry, but Karkarov seems to have, perhaps he got angry or something. You see him get up. He's gotten up while you guys were having your conversation. Mackenzie looks kind of stunned at him doing this, and he leaves very quickly. Karkarov does, and leaving Mackenzie at the table, just sipping his coffee and not finishing his game of chess.
Is it obvious who was winning?
Yeah, actually, Karkarov was on the win.
It's very good, I understand.
He is indeed.
I'm going to think about a quill pen and a small bit of paper card. I want to write a note to Zusha on my way to my cabin.
Okay. What would you like to write to her?
Because I think, Madam, you were experienced in the Dreamlands, and we've had a strange experience. If you would like to discuss what we have been through, you can find me in the Blue Triangle, or whatever my cabin number is.
You seem to be able to slip that to her as she's having her conversation with Madame Bonival. Madame Bonival gives you a dirty look.
Yeah.
She's not nice.
Are you all then going to go back to your...
No, I was going to go over and sit with Mackenzie.
Okay. Mackenzie has a funny look on his face, and he sees you then coming over, and he smiles, and he says, "You care for a game of chess?"
Yes, I would enjoy that very much. Let me get a coffee first.
He says, Kokolov suddenly jumped up and walked away, rather sad for some reason. I don't know why. They'll bring you coffee.
Yeah, maybe you had made a brilliant move that he wasn't expecting.
It seemed more like he was just suddenly distracted by something.
Oh, that's strange.
Did
Did he head towards the luggage?
No, but he headed towards where his room had been. So more or less in the same direction as your rooms.
Are we really close to the next stop? Maybe he's getting ready to get off.
No, you still got a
I don't
few
know why
hours.
he'd want to get off in Tsar.
Yeah, just think.
Does it sound
Um,
Russian?
So Roland, you're going back to do stuff. Dr. Edison, you were going to go work on your vert.
Actually, with Karkarov, suddenly leaving, I've played chess with Karkarov before. He's fascinating. He has my attention. I want to see if I can follow him, just to maybe catch up to him and just have a conversation. But I'm going to try and follow him.
Okay. Gabriel?
I think I will sip some more of this wonderful wine before going back to my room to continue working on my little
Okay.
vert project.
Vert. Theodore?
I'm going to keep an eye on Edison, just sort of shadow him off.
Okay. And Dr. Dorian?
Dorian is gonna sit and have drinks and just watch.
Okay. Just to enjoy
Yeah.
the area.
Yeah, enjoy it for a while. While he's got a bit of
Okay.
happiness still.
So, Roland, when you get up, Prince Nimbus wakes up kind of and sort of half decides to follow you along the corridor. And you are looking down at Prince Nimbus. He's so cute and he's rubbing up against your leg. And suddenly he stops and gives a little hiss. And he seems to be looking up at something. And when you look up, the hallway that you're in, it suddenly seems a little bit wider than, it's much more spacious than on a regular train. There's something that's been jammed up into the corner of between the ceiling and the wall. It's green and flabby. And in that second that you're looking up at it, this overwhelming sort of rotten cheese smell hits you. And you realize that it's moving and that it is in fact one of the Ibians that seems to have been shoved up there so that he's kind of wedged in and stuck to the wall, his little hands trying to free himself, but he's unable to. His hands have, as I recall, prodigious like claws on them, but he's not able. He's like a turtle on its back, except that his back is stuck to the wall.
I need a proper handled umbrella, please. I think
Okay.
to Mimi.
Yeah, one appears.
Yep. So I'm going to offer the Ibian the handle of it.
Okay.
So if it grips it, I'll try to give it a.
Okay. Do a luck roll.
I think they're harmless. Nimbus. Oh wow, 91. So
Okay. So you kind of hook at it, tries to grab a hold of it. It doesn't really make any noise except for the sound of the sort of gooey skin flapping against the thing. And there's as it sort of pulls on your umbrella and you pull on the umbrella, you hear a kind of a like that as it like suction cup comes loose from the wall and it falls towards you. The cat screeches and runs, disappears, and the Ibian lands practically in your arms. They're not very big, but when it lands in your arms, you've got slime on you all over.
and we have storage areas. There are holes to Mimi all over, but these were in special storage areas by the stairwell, I think.
They were in the special, internal rooms.
I think
One of them.
I'll try to take it into my stateroom and give it a way to go down. and then perhaps call for Henri for help.
What you would have to do is take it to the observation platform. That's where their entrance was.
Yeah.
To the their tunnels.
Yeah.
The creature doesn't really seem to be injured. In fact, you get kind of the impression it would be a little difficult to injure one unless you like took a sword to it or a knife.
Maybe a fire.
The thing
is it heavy? What size?
Yeah, I mean, it feels kind of like a sack of flour.
Except sticky and slimy.
It's sticky and slimy and smells really strongly of like sweaty feet.
Yeah.
But as you sort of set it down to the ground, it looks grateful, maybe. And there's a look on its very odd face. You're not sure whether it's grateful or not, but it acknowledges that you helped it, and then it quickly turns and starts to move actually towards where everybody else is in the lounge, and then past them to the observation, and then obviously down. But now you are reeking. Remember, there is a sauna too.
Yeah, and a bunch of the same outfit in the stateroom. So yeah, exactly. I will put on a robe, wipe a towel over it, put on a robe, and try the sauna. Although I will remind Mimi that I'm a very private individual.
Okay, I would like you to do a listen roll.
Triple 0. I have slime in my ears.
You're annoyed. And you just go.
Yeah.
When you get to the sauna, of course, we don't need the details, but you can bathe, you can clean up, you can, get anointed by fancy oil if you want to, and get a massage while you're there. And then eventually you go back to your room. Let's see. Dr. Edison, you said that you were going to watch the chess game?
No, follow Karkarov.
Oh, you were going to follow Karkarov. Okay.
And Theodore was catching up with me and kind of touched my elbow and nodded and like, yeah, let's go. So Theodore and I are trying to follow and catch up to Karkarov. Something has got his attention and it's piqued my interest.
And then I don't. Ever since, I had my procedure, it's like I've got all these appointments with the doctors, and they constantly send me automated messages confirming that I've got an appointment. And it's every single night.
Yeah, it's incredibly convenient that I get a message from my dentist via text, via phone call, via voicemail, and via email at least twice each. It's so helpful. Yeah. It's really, technology makes our lives great.
I think they've interrupted every single game that I've played this week.
I would like him to at least be honest and say, we're looking forward to billing you. Will you please be showing up?
Yeah. All right.
Hey, it's past the cancellation window, so we'll bill you anyway.
Okay. So Theodore and Dr. Edison, you're walking down the hall. We'll say that you left slightly before Roland. So you were ahead of him. You went right when Karkarov left. I'd like you to do listen rolls.
Ooh, 12. That's a pass to be hard.
As well as hard success.
Okay, excellent. So as you're walking by, there is kind of a moment when you smell something, but you're concentrating on Karkarov, so you don't notice what Roland eventually notices.
Listen, do you smell that?
Yeah.
But you walked past. What you hear is a little bit farther down the hallway that you're walking down. You hear giggling, and it's got that kind of high-pitched quality that the Sarnathians, which you had discussion with earlier.
Not Karkarov.
But you go past that noise, and you see Karkarov has gone into his room rather abruptly and quickly, and closed the door behind him rather quickly and loudly.
Does he look upset, or did he?
Yes, he looks almost frantic by the time he gets there.
My. What happened all of a sudden? We noticed nothing back in the lounge.
Maybe we can lend a hand.
Yeah.
Let's approach Karkarov's door and give it a smart wrapping.
Okay. You knock on the door. You immediately hear from inside the room yelp, like your door knock startled him. You hear him. You hear noise of things either moving around or being knocked over, and do a luck roll.
Oh, 5. Wow, I'm on fire.
13. Yeah, I did very well too.
So you're standing there. You're on either side. The door is in the middle. You've knocked on the door, and suddenly you hear from inside, "Take that!" And a rapier blade comes out right between the two of you through the door, and sort of
Karkarov, good man. What's going on?
Who are you? Why are you tormenting me? He yells.
Tormenting? We're trying to help.
Karkarov, don't you recognize us?
He opens the door rather abruptly, which once again you have to kind of duck because the blade of the rapier flies past as this happens. And he's like, who? He's like, who are you? And then he looks at you and he looks down the hallway on either side. He says, come quickly inside.
All right. In.
In we go.
And he pulls you inside, and as he does, he pulls the rapier blade out and holds it in a defensive manner, but not towards you. He runs over to the window and he looks out the window and he looks around on either side, and he's like, my God, can't you hear that? Can't you hear the noise? And noise? He gets down on his hands and knees like he's going to climb under the bed.
Karkarov, take a moment. Just relax. Tell us what's going on.
Can't you hear the artillery? They must be right outside somewhere.
Is there a glass of water? Is there a basin?
Of course, both of you need them.
Pour a cup of water. Karkarov.
Both of you can do intelligence rolls.
I'm wondering if he's starting to wake up. This is his oh wow, 11. Good Lord.
I rolled a 15. We're hot.
We're so doomed later, but for now,
You see this in his eyes, you see it in his manner. This is like PTSD.
Sure.
Although you don't have PTSD yet. You have shell shock.
Shell shock.
But yeah, he's definitely acting like he's got PTSD.
Okay. In fact, I mean, that seems like something that I would have been able to diagnose medically. I want to see if I can calm him down and just try and, kind of talk him down so he can relax.
No, I don't.
That is the proper 1920s procedure.
It would be.
Do you have any psychoanalysis?
No, I have psychology.
Psychoanalysis. I've got a 1.
I'll let you use psychology in this case.
Wow. I'm going to spend the 1 point of luck to make it a hard success.
Okay. So you both realize that one, you have to get the sword away from him. So in the process, you manage to get it away from him. You talk him into giving it to you, and then you sit him down and you try to calm him down. Give him a glass of water, and he's finally calming down. He's still breathing hard. He's sweating profusely. Of course, he's also wearing a freaking fur coat. And he's like, I don't know. It's all so difficult. Why I hear them so much, why they haunt my dreams. You don't hear them.
We don't hear them, Karkarov.
No.
I would like to see if I could. So I'm skilled in pharmacy. I'm very adept at medication. I want to see if I can engage the vert to create an elixir that will calm him down. Something that would just be a medication that I'm aware of that would just kind of bring peace to him and help him relax.
I think that I would have to argue that, do you have chemistry?
I have pharmacy.
Yeah, pharmacy, you would know how to mix which chemicals to mix together, but you wouldn't know how to create them on an atomic level. So, maybe if you had chemistry, I might give it to you. But in this case, you don't know how to do that. You might just have to talk to him.
Okay. Well, I had a hard success, so I'm just going to try and calm him down. It's going to be okay. Just breathe through it. Try to recognize these sudden outbursts are irrational and recognize it for what it is, and just kind of pull yourself and anchor yourself to your present position.
I am a torn man. I don't know why I feel guilty, but at the same time, I don't feel as guilty as I should. I've done things, I mean, you care about your families, don't you? Do you have families?
Of course.
I mean, you do anything to protect your family, to provide for your family. And I found it to my advantage to sell weapons to both sides. Somebody was going to sell the weapons to them, and I can rationalize that if I sell them both the same things, then the right man wins because they're equally and evenly matched. But so many people have died using my weapons. And now all I hear is the guns and the artillery. I don't know what to do. It haunts me day and night.
Do you still sell the weapons?
My business still exists. I am younger here than I am in the real world, but
you make this journey aboard Mimi, and at the end of the line, you have the opportunity to throw that which you carry with you, that the weight that you wish to unburden yourself with, you can toss it into the void.
Yes, you've seen my package. But I'm not sure that I feel enough regret. I'm not sure that I can still convince myself that what I did was necessary and not evil. That, they say that there's a dead man for every single dollar that I made because of me. But we have luxury. We have my family will never want for anything. It's a huge amount of money that we rest on. That's my totem, that box of rats. And I'm not sure that I don't love it.
I can see this is a burden that you carry with you. What you may want to consider is, instead of being a man of death and destruction, turn that money that you've taken, that blood money, and become a builder and give back to people. Construct a hospital, construct a home, but do something to give back and earn the peace that you want to take. And that will help you lift that burden and throw that box of rats into the void.
You give me a lot to think about, but I'd like to be alone now, if you don't mind. I'll try to pull myself together and be ready to join everyone for dinner.
I give him the water, pat him on the shoulder, just relax. See you for dinner.
All right. So let's see. Gunter and Gabriel and Dorian, you're all still in the lounge, yes?
I was sitting down with Montgomery and play a game of chess.
So he resets the board. You guys start to play. You realize immediately that Mackenzie's an intelligent man. He's thoughtful and intelligent, almost to the point of he's very calculating.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's told you that he was kind of a diplomat liaison, carried stuff across, really. Hold on just a second.
This commercial break is brought to you by automated phone messages. Automated phone messages. Interrupting your evening.
Exactly the same message I got. So next it's going to be my vet telling me I've got a veterinarian appointment tomorrow, which I do.
Yeah.
Already. All right. Sorry about that. Write that down really quick. All right. He has an intelligent way of playing. Of course, it's very distracting that damn briefcase is chained to his arm with all of the little cornered papers sticking out of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, when you notice that, you also notice that one of the eccentricities of Madame Bonneval over there in the chair talking to Zusha is she also seems to have a valise, only hers is shaped like a red heart, and it's more purse-like than anything else. You've never seen her without it. And she kind of clutches it tightly, even when she's at ease. But other than that, the game is kind of normal.
Right.
Gabriel and Dr. Dabrowski, are you just watching or?
Well, I'm sipping on the rest of this wine, and I have my little vert that I'm trying to turn into my totem with me.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and try your dreaming skill?
Sure. Well, I could spend 19 luck to pass, but that's a lot of luck.
You can try again later.
Yep. That's the plan.
What is everybody's dream lore at?
Mine is at 10.
Mine is also at 10. And my dreaming crap, which I believe what we were using for that roll, is a 5.
Right. I think that at this point, because of your Lausanne adventure, you should all be able to roll a 1d10. A 1d10 plus 5 on your lore, because you've been learning an awful lot about
12.
the dream.
Oh, I gained 11.
12 for me as well. That brings me up to 18.
4.
And I also think that because this is your
8.
second time in the Dreamlands, you can increase your manipulation skill or whatever it was.
Dreamcraft.
Craft.
You can do that by a 1d10.
4.
10.
Nice. You've been practicing.
And then Gabriel, you can re-roll that if you want to try it again. It's a better score.
With the better skill, the roll was far worse.
Okay, well, you'll get it eventually.
Mhm.
So Gunter, did you want to? There's not much conversation because you're both quiet as you're playing the game.
So as I move along, I bring up that I'm originally from Berlin, and it's so curious that I've found myself here via Arkham, Massachusetts. It's quite a journey I never expected to take. Knight to E5.
You get used to it eventually. I've been here quite a few times, always on business. I figured eventually I'll retire and get rid of this damn briefcase, but for now I've still got business to attend to. Rook to Kings 4.
Mhm. Good move. Good move. Yes, it is weird how work can sometimes seem like it dominates our life and all. I myself am an entertainer. I believe I'll just push this pawn forward too.
Then you'll probably be interested in Zusha. She's a dancer, quite famous in certain circles here in the Dreamlands. I don't know about her real world life. And Zusha sort of looks up because she hears you guys talking.
I give her a smile.
She at this point sort of disattaches herself from Madame Bonneval pleasantly, and maybe goes over and gets a little snack or something. And she comes over to where you are and she says, "So boys, what are you talking about? I heard you say my name."
Oh, we were talking about our careers in the waking world, and I was telling him that I am an entertainer, and he said that you are too, a dancer. He informed me.
Well, I've tried to be. I mean, my manager sent me on this trip to Constantinople for a gig, but I don't know. I'm getting very tired of this life.
Oh, what would you want to do if you weren't dancing and entertaining?
Well, grow up maybe.
Mhm.
Instead of thinking that I'm going to be some international superstar, I'm just going to get a job behind a desk somewhere and live a mundane life. It's not what I want, but
Yes.
at what point do you come to where you just decide to give up on your dreams?
I've found that the ones I've known that have given up on their dreams have wish that their mundane life was back to the excitement they had before.
Well, maybe.
Let me show you a trick, and I do like a little sleight of hand to make the pawn disappear. Then and then make it come back. And it's like going, that did not happen overnight. It took years of practice, just like your dancing. One day you might not achieve the dreams that you were hoping to, but you'll achieve some level of it if you keep trying.
Well, maybe. I mean, there are a lot of problems that I make for myself in the real world. I don't exactly come here just because I like this world better than that world.
I could understand why that is. I've had recently some rather unpleasant experiences in the waking world.
How do you get here?
Currently I'm riding a train, and it rocks me to sleep, and the rhythm has me here. This time I floated down from the sky.
I have to use drugs.
Oh.
Opium mostly.
Yeah, for every time. And do you feel that that's affecting your performances?
Maybe. I was seriously. You want to see my totem?
I very much would.
And she reaches in and pulls out a little bag, and she reaches inside the bag, and she pulls out a little ballerina. And she says, "These are my worldly dreams. I think I'm going to throw them into the Gulf of Nodens."
Oh, that would make me quite sad. I would be I think it would be much more beneficial to make a totem of your drugs and to cast those aside.
Maybe. But for now, we're here. We can enjoy ourselves. She says she smiles, a forced kind of smile, as she gets up, and she says, "What we need is music." And from nowhere in particular, you start to hear this music, and she begins to dance. And she actually seems quite skilled, quite lovely. It's kind of an exotic dance, but she seems to be very happy when she's dancing. Let's see. I think we've covered everyone. Does anyone else want to try with their vert to see if they can form their totem? Gabriel also. Gabriel, you keep trying, so you can try again. Why not?
All right. I'll try if the chess match is over with.
No, I'm just sat there drinking, listening, and now watching her dance.
No, that was a really bad roll.
If I spend 17 luck.
I want to try my totem.
Okay.
Purposefully ignoring my.
Has any of you already succeeded? I can't remember if anybody succeeded in the first one.
No.
I thought
I know. Yeah,
I read my dice backwards. At first, I was like, I rolled an 04. No, I rolled a 40. No, never mind.
So it's difficult. It's more difficult, but you guys are getting a little better each time at doing it.
When I get back from the sauna, I would like to summon Henri again and tell him about the trapped Ibian.
Okay.
There seems to be some kind of strife on the train. I don't know if it's the people from Sarnath or
the Ibians and the Sarnathians are in fact in conflict. Both groups have been summoned by King Kuranes to make an accounting. It's a long dispute. The Ibian civilization was conquered by the Sarnathians about 1,000 years ago. And the Ibians want restitution for the crimes committed against them. And they're presenting their the king's finally fed up with the argument, and he wants to see both of them, maybe to make a decision. Yeah, there's no love between them.
I'm surprised that Mimi cannot somehow keep a peace, or since she anticipates desire so well. The Ibian who was squished in the corner seemed most distressed.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes my guests can get away with things without, if their attention is focused enough, I suppose. My reputation, though, as the train conductor, I do my best to maintain that. I have a very tenuous alliance with, all the way across the Dreamlands. So my reputation says, I'll see if I can speak to them.
I wanted you to be aware only.
Yeah, my influence isn't always the best as far as guests such as the Sarnathians. The Sarnathians are quite arrogant.
Yes, they think themselves very superior with their tall, flowing, whatever, exotic
And the city of Sarnath is beautiful, but one should not judge a book by its cover.
I did not enjoy smelling Ibian on my person, but this is, not every species is the same thing. I'm sure there are creatures that do not like the smell of human.
Oh, we should be arriving in Tsar. Very soon.
Yeah, maybe I should take a break from the vert and look carefully from the platform.
And if you will excuse me then. Dr. Edison, at some point you are walking back down the corridor, and you and Theodore, I guess you're still together. You're walking back towards the lounge. Dr. Edison, you suddenly hear from behind you, psst, psst. That.
Turn to look.
You see that the door to the Sarnathians' compartments is slightly cracked open, and one of the Sarnathians is looking at you and going, psst, psst.
I make sure to lightly touch Teddy's arm to get his attention as well, and motion to the Sarnathians and slowly approach the door. Yes, how may I help you?
He's like, we would like to speak with you. Come inside. He opens the door large enough for you to get inside, and then puts his hand up for Theodore.
Oh, well, my companion and I, it would be rude to exclude him.
We don't care. We don't want to speak with him. We want to speak with you. It's a private matter.
About what?
It's a private matter. We'd like to discuss it with you. Please leave. He points at Theodore.
Don't speak.
We'll return your friend to you later.
Silence. I'll just stand outside and ask the train for a cocktail.
I'll be a moment, Teddy.
Enjoy yourself.
All right. So you get a slight nasty look from the Sarnathian Theodore as he closes the door.
And I return it right back at him.
And he puts his arm kind of around your shoulder, Dr. Edison, and says, please, we would like to discuss something with you. And they're all in there. And their compartment is kind of what you'd expect. It's over opulent. It conforms to their tastes. There's divans where the ladies are, laying down, being fanned by their servants. He says, so we have a problem that we think you can help us with. You see, we've been summoned by King Kuranes over a dispute between our illustrious people and the stinking little Ibian people. To what end, we can't even fathom why. Some dispute that they have with us. Our government doesn't really take it very seriously, but because the king has summoned, they've sent me and my companions here as diplomatic members of the court. Truth
Yes,
is,
diplomat. Okay.
we don't know anything about diplomacy or the law, and we really need an advocate to assist us in placing our argument, or arguing at least against the filthy Ibians, in order to defend our point of view. Our culture is 1,000 years old and has brought civilization to our area. The Ibians are primitive little animals. I can't imagine what it is they want.
Are you looking to bring war to the Ibians? Are you looking to conquer them?
The Ibians have nothing. They were conquered 1,000 years ago. They probably want, I don't know, money or something. I mean, what kind of grubby little things they might want, who can say? But we just want you to represent us to the king, to defend us in case these money-grubbing Ibians have come up with some ridiculous argument. I mean, if they want, something like money, I give them, whatever to negotiate 1,000 rubies to get them off our backs, or something like that. We just would like. We'll pay you. You're obviously the most intelligent and most handsome of all of your human friends, but surely you must understand that civilization is much more important than a primitive culture like these. It's not even a culture.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I am not available to represent you.
You wouldn't disappoint us. You certainly should. I mean, what would we do if we don't have proper representation?
Well, I think unless you are looking to start a war, then you might want to consider a more humble approach that might garner peace,
whatever, but
understanding.
But we need your assistance in doing this.
I will not be representing the Sarnathians or the Ibians in this matter, because it is not a matter that involves me.
He turns from you and he's looking over at one of the other males and says, I told you. He says, we should just take care of this problem ourselves here on the train. I mean, no diplomats on their side, and there's no argument. If they don't show up to be represented, then they lose, right?
Well, that sounds like a declaration of war. So I will see myself out now, and you may want to reconsider your approach, unless war is your approach.
Well, perhaps you could advise us then. Advise us on how we should better deal with this. Nobody wants war.
Then I would consider...
Besides, if there was war, we would slaughter them wholeheartedly.
Of course. So you need to decide, either make war or make peace. And if it's peace, then hear out your opponent and find a middle ground.
We don't need
That
you
is
to
the
teach
advice
us.
I give you for free.
We don't need you to teach us how to be diplomats. We need a diplomat. You could do that for us. It's just, we would support anything that you might have to say as long as it's to our advantage.
I bid you good day and good luck.
We could make it worth your while.
I have more pressing matters that I must attend to.
Okay. All right. So you go out. Theodore, you heard most of that from the hallway outside. You're muted.
Just commenting on the brilliant sherry that Mimi was delicious.
So
Sarnathians.
the two of you continue down the corridor. About this time, you can feel Mimi beginning to slow down. As you look out the windows, you see beautiful, verdant hills with large forests of trees on them. And it seems like on the top of every mountain, there's a temple, all looking kind of Roman and Greek. And there's flower gardens, and it's spectacularly beautiful. But you've been warned that it's not so beautiful.
Do we know precisely where the Ibians are quartered?
Yes, you know exactly where they're quartered. You saw them taken down into the, I can't remember which circle, but it's one of the colored circles.
When we're just off to the side, Dr. York, what do you think about not getting involved to a greater extent, but at least letting the Ibians have a fair warning that these people they're here to negotiate with are plotting possibly devious, not trying to stop anything, just to give them a heads up.
I think Henri would be much better equipped to do that than we would.
Oh, Henri?
Yeah, let's let Henri know. And,
Oui, monsieur,
and let him...
I'm here. What can
Henri,
I do for you?
Yes. I had a very unsettling encounter with Sarnathians. They are perplexed as to how to be diplomatic. I don't believe there's a thinker among them, and so they at least implied that if the Ibians fail to make it before King Karanis's court, then with no one to represent them, their side of the argument will be moot. So we do not want to get in the middle of this, as they attempted to hire me to be some sort of diplomatic representative. And I think that is not something I want to get in the middle of. Anyways, the Sarnathians are, I think, threatening the Ibians.
I will put Mimi on high alert to prevent any such thing as this, specifically with the Ibians and the Sarnathians. They are going to be presented to the king, and he's going to hear their argument. But that's quite a ways farther on our journey. Thank you for telling me, monsieur. If you see anything else, please warn me about it. We are approaching Tsar. I have to oversee the transfer of goods.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, we bid you adieu.
You are welcome to watch either from here or the platform, but don't stray into this.
Yeah.
Don't plan to.
Thank you for your time.
So Mimi does come to a halt. in a very similar manner to what you've already seen. There is a platform wherein large trapdoors are open and a ramp, ladder is brought up to the pavilion, and Henry goes down. Meanwhile, there are crates and things that are on the dock that Mimi begins to transfer. There seems like there's some sort of colored flower bulbs that it's picking up, and it's putting cabbages and other odd cargo like that. Where are each of you in this?
I was going to go to the platform to watch. And
I as well.
Look at the city.
Yeah.
The air is clean. The smell actually is quite pleasant. In fact, as you're standing there, you keep smelling things that remind you of ideas and thoughts you had a long time ago that you completely forgotten, that seem to sort of reawaken for a moment, except that it's frustrating. It's like, what was the rest of that song lyric? I'd thought of that a long time ago, and you realize that you're experiencing exactly sort of what Henry had told you. And of course, it's safe here on the platform, but out there, you could wander around forever.
This seems like quite the maddening place.
I wonder what happens to the souls who are lured in. Is it always around the next corner until something eats them? Or is it a sort of punishment?
Like they're on a Sisyphean quest where they'll never succeed. Just constantly be right there on the tip of their tongue.
I had a note of chalk dust just now, and then there was an equation I was working on 20 years ago that I could almost picture.
Does it seem like if we look deep into the city that there are people, ordinary people, just carrying out their days, or is it pretty much devoid of people?
You don't see people, but you're not sure that you would be able to see them from here, because most of it's built onto hills and things like that. It's you feel that it's deceptively beautiful, like a trap. It has that sort of feeling to it. Yet it would make a beautiful painting. If you painted a picture of it, it would be quite beautiful. I would like those of you who are looking around. Henry's there, and he's overseeing the boxes and stuff being loaded onto the train and so forth. I'd like you all to do spot hiddens.
Even from the observation car?
Sure.
Okay.
31 is one shy of a hard success.
Okay, 05.
I'm in the observation car next to theater, but I'm focusing on fear and nothing else.
I've got an extreme.
Man, with that focus, I think Roland caught a whiff of chalk dust and something else.
So we'll deal with it in kind of layers. Theodore, you are still on the train.
Yeah, I'm on the train.
On the observation platform.
Yeah,
right.
To be with Dorian, maybe getting a nice appetizer, another glass of this fantastic sherry, and just looking at the beautiful view.
So you're looking down, and as I say, there are just fields and hills of beautiful grass and flowers, and you can see there's movement. There's something moving its way down through the grass, heading towards the platform. You get glimpses of it, and it doesn't move like a person. You'd almost guess it's some kind of large animal that's moving in that direction. And it occasionally stops, and it makes a funny turn, and then it moves a little bit farther, almost like it's meandering, but meandering towards the thing.
Like a tendril, sort of snaking its way through?
Yeah, maybe it's kind of the way it looks to you. It's almost like snaking its way through the grass. Roland, you also got an extreme? As you're standing there, you can see just beyond where Henry is standing on the platform, you can see the grass and the flowers start to move as something approaches the edge of the platform. It's dark and it's hairy, and you're not sure if it's a person or an animal of some sort. And the rest of you, depending on the degree of your passing, you start to see this because they're also looking in that direction. Henry suddenly turns and he sort of jumps back, but then he stops where he is. This thing has leapt up onto the platform. It's hunched over, and now you're kind of convinced it's a person, but the person is in torn, raggedy clothes. The person hasn't cleaned themselves or shaved themselves in what look like years. Their beard is hanging down. Their hair is matted and stringy. And you see Henry say, sort of, hello, monsieur. Are you okay? And the thing sort of growls and takes a couple of steps forward and then hesitates and moves back. What do you guys do?
Henri, I think you might have found your first lost soul.
He says, indeed.
Sir, have you been here and have you been in Tsar a very long time?
It hisses and growls in your direction, but it suddenly holds out a tattered ticket. Looks very much like one of your tickets, but like I said, it's tattered and torn, and it's holding it out for Henry.
Can Mimi check that?
If when Mimi sort of reaches in that direction, the thing immediately screeches and moves away as if it's terrified by Mimi.
Sir, you have been on the train before?
It holds out its ticket like this and hunkers down.
Like reach out, like knowing that Mimi will grab me and pull me away if it bites my arm.
When you get close enough, and it sort of looks up at you, you realize that it has no eyes. Its eyes have been gouged out.
Yes, I'm nearby. Just hold still, sir. We have you.
It holds out the ticket, and as you get close enough to grab the ticket, it suddenly lunges at you. And Mimi sort of tries to pull you back, but it gets in a few blows, and then it backs up, and then it holds the ticket out again. Henry's like, I don't know what to do, monsieur. And it hunkers down, opens its mouth, and what comes out of its mouth is, "You don't understand the horrors that I've seen." And it screams that as if it's obviously completely stark raving insane.
Mhm.
Do you want to leave this place?
Are you real? The dreams, all of my dreams have come true. All of my dreams.
Well, we are real.
We can't get you away.
All of my dreams. Do you understand? All of my dreams.
Even the nightmares?
And it screams and it hunkers down and tries to hold the ticket out. Henri's like, "Messieurs, I don't know what to do."
You could store him in one of the Ibian like places in Mimi.
How do we, the padded cell? How do we get him on board? It's dangerous.
Mimi can produce a sedative of some kind, I would think.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to do this, I don't know. How do I justify bringing this madman on board my ship? You guys can try to persuade him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you this is something you've been looking for every time you stopped here, and maybe if we had something to calm him down, some kind of drink to take him back to his time,
His childhood, yeah.
Any more of that wine?
Well, we can try. I can have Mimi configure the equivalent of a padded cell. I don't know where we will take him, perhaps on an ill or someplace where he can get help.
In the worst case scenario, you could bring him back to Tsar as the train returns.
I think that we need to find a way to restrain him.
Yes.
Perhaps surround him, and it might take all of our strength to do this. Meanwhile, Theodore and Dorian, you're watching from up above. You see that they're trying to get a hold of this guy. Did you want to assist?
I will go down as crazy people is one of my side professions.
I'll go down with Dorian. Just finishing.
Do any of you have psychoanalysis?
No, but I have this member of the. I have a member of the royal court.
I do have psycho. I have some psychoanalysis.
But also a smidgen. My last roll would have been good enough, but this one, no, I can't spend 20 on this.
I rolled a 32 and I have 36, so that's a pass.
Okay.
Nice.
So Dorian is assisting you. He manages to calm the man down enough that you can get up to him and grab a hold of him, knowing that the second you grabbed him, he's going to struggle. But and he's going to scream and he's going to make noise and he's going to try to bite you. But you manage to get him up the platform and onto the train. And Henry opens the red circle, and you take him down to what turns into a padded sort of cell where he can't hurt himself. And they can, you can care for him and keep him safe, but keep him away from the other people on the train.
Do you have it?
Were we able to get? Oh, yeah.
He doesn't even understand the question.
Were we able to get the ticket out of his hand?
Oh, yeah.
Like, is it dated? Like, does it say how long he'd been there?
No, it's the same as your tickets.
Right.
So he must have been a regular human being, and from all evidence, he got off in Zor and never came back. Managed somehow to come back, but he tells you only this. Is screeching it, the things that I've seen, the terrors that I've seen, I tore out my own eyes and still I see them. He screams. And with that, I think we'll call it quits and come back next week to the next episode. Our players included Morgan Llewellyn, David Gasaway, Stuart Lively, Keith Craig, Josh Harwood, and John Hook, with yours truly as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the fine arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good game.